It is July 28th, 2023. Had a first and last date. I met this guy at a winery for dinner. Okay. In walks Ron and Lisa Vega. They don't believe in drinking. They're apostolic. They come in and they order alcohol. Do the cheers to each other. Stare at me the whole time. The guy that I'm sent with, he's like, they're staring at you. I said, I know they are. He said, those people are staring at you. I said, I know they are. And he's like, who are they? And I told him. He took his glasses off. He's like, you want to leave? I said, I will not show them any fear. And they kept staring until they left. But they thought it was funny. You know what that guy said? They deserve the electric chair for this. Yeah, they do. They're accessory to murder. And they're cheering each other. They got away with it. Lighthouse Tabernacle already mapped FBI agent John how they fooled him. And all the tapes before were only a stunt. A satanic stunt. Dave's girlfriend's dad and the drug dealers were hired to break in my house. Photoshop shower scenes, what I heard, and then drug me up with date rape drugs and tell me say weirdo stuff and all kinds of other crazy stuff I didn't know about. It's not legal to be in somebody's home. It's the Fourth Amendment. You can't be in there, but protected custody case, police and agencies, they're not even allowed to look at it. I had a friend at the prosecutor's office, a fraud scheme. Where they kicked in your door, they probably did set up button cameras. They probably did Photoshop that shower scene they're all talking about. Where you had bruises all over you, you were throwing up and almost passing out. They probably did drug you until you say something. They could never use it against you. They did it in a house. It's a fraud scheme. It's actually called sextortion. It's a federal crime. It was Dave's girlfriend's father, Michelle. That church was using every scam in the world to kill people. You know, that guy looked at me and said they're probably already in somebody else's house doing the same thing and they don't know it. I said, oh, I can guarantee that one. Because during the protected custody case, my ex was on the phone. They had a list of people. And more than likely they already are. They'll be throwing up, dizzy, have bruises they can't explain, and then a personal infection. They're already drug beating and raping him and photoshopping him. They didn't get stopped with me. And you know, when I went up to that church for it, I called that agent back that left the number. He was already up there telling on me. And the people up there, he told them he knew I was being drug beat and raped and he didn't care. She was going to be faking she was sick and faking she got well while that family was grieving. He didn't care what they did to her. How much you pay him off? Because the next day when I called him back, I told him somebody told him. He called me a liar. It's verified by officers it was him. And then when I told him about the guy that threatened to knife me, I tried to kidnap me, he called me a liar. And I have a witness in my phone. She's seen him. He took my house manager, Melissa's niece, and he killed Lori's family, my other coworker, her family member. He's a serial killer. That's who they hired. The drug cartel that's human trafficking. To frame me. Is that legal? No. Right? So they had the 4 attempts and they didn't work, so they decided to frame me. I mean, human trafficked, drug, beaten, raped under amnesia drugs, drugged up and told to say stuff. Photoshop shower scene by the drug cartel and one of the girls' dads. How not legal is this? Extremely. That's why June 7th, 23, Walmart 62, FBI agent John fell for the stunt of the tapes before. Oh, come on now. That FBI agent actually fell for stunt on tapes before. It was only a stunt. You mean John fell for it? Is that what's going on? FBI agent John fell for the stunt of the tapes before. Ah! Or they framed me and they thought it was funny. Just like the fakest cheering each other. I told you, years ago, I had one day doubled over. Dave took me to the hospital. They did emergency appendectomy. They said it didn't look bad, but the way she's screaming, we took it out. And then 2 months later, I'm screaming again. I had endometriosis, a fluid-filled cyst exploding inside you. That'll dub you over. It happened so bad that they had to go through my stomach. I was bleeding into my stomach. They had to repair it. Then they medication and burning treatments cause kidney stones. I'm getting stents put in and out of my kidneys. And then my uterus finally flips over, and when I have my period, I gush out on the floor, so they did a lower hysterectomy. 2 months later, I'm screaming again. And here I have a cyst as big as a golf ball in my ovary, and they said, if that explodes, you're dead. So they cut me side to side and took it out. My ovary's out. 2 months later, I have a knot in my stomach. All that scar tissue collected. They had to go back in and take it out. A month and a half to 2 months later, I have pancreatitis. And they looked for the cause. My gallbladder quit working from all the surgeries and medication. They took it out, okay? Well, I finally got better. And then one day I started bleeding. I have nothing to bleed from. They looked for the cause, and my kidney tube, where a stone was, had kinked the kidney and was going to go, and it was going back up into the kidney and causing the kidney bleed. So I got a 4-inch scar on my back. Now, where they had to take out the damaged part and fix it. I'm cut 6 to 10 times, top to bottom of my stomach and down my back. I go into fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is where your muscles lock up from being hurt. And they lock up tight, and little small balls form in the muscles. They started me on 30 shots of steroids up and down my neck, trying to break them open. That is so painful, it's ridiculous. It started me on quinine, high doses ibuprofen, all kinds of meds. Okay? And my feet start swelling. And I'm like, is it the medication? No, it's fibromyalgia. No, it's an allergic reaction. Starts going up into my legs, my knees, I gain 150 pounds in like 6 months. And I go from like 105 pounds up to a 3X type. I am swelling so big, my legs are double its size, and the knees are popping out of place. And I go to orthopedic doctor. They're pulling turkey-based syringes of fluid out and putting steroids in. They gave me braces to hold my knees in place, and then canes just to stable me when I was out. Now I can walk around my house. If I fell on the carpet, it wasn't that bad, but it was like walking on 2 spring feet. You didn't know when I'd fall, okay? And that's why I had those other things when I went out, so I wouldn't fall in the cement, so I wouldn't break anything. Well, the swelling goes up into my chest, my heart gets off. I end up in the cardiac ward. I ended up on calcium blockers and nitro pills. It goes up into my neck, my thyroid stops working, my adrenal gland, then it goes up into my face, my head, and my pituitary gland starts swelling. I'm dying from an allergic reaction, and it's slowly killing me. Joanne Young, thank God, showed up and said, I know this doctor that gives you high doses of pain medicine, get you out moving, get you off all those things. I go in and see him. He's like, I had a lady not quite as bad as you, and I have her running on a treadmill in 9 months. I'm like, you're crazy, I'm dying. So the first month, he put me on fentanyl patches. It's 100 times stronger than morphine and 50 times stronger than heroin. He gave me muscle relaxers and Vicodins. The first month, I puked. I lost 30 pounds the first month. The second month, it was amazing. Where I'd lost all that fluid, I could drive a car. I would put my canes and braces on. I'd pull myself around back allotments, malls, stores. I went from a 24 down to 16 in 6-7 months. My feet had went from a 7.5 shoe up to 8.5 wide tight. My feet were this thick, and they're going down like everything else. And it's as the fluid left. My brain went back down. My thyroid started working. My adrenal gland started working. I didn't need the heart medicine anymore. I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. Everybody's making over me, Karen. We always see out, you're going to be this. Well, they talk about spontaneous remission. It can't happen fast enough. 7 months into it, we're all working on our house one day. Brian Laney shows up, and he's like, Phil and Tyler was killed in a traffic accident. I said, what happened? Well, Phil ran a stop sign and his a semi hit him. He pulled out in front of a semi. It was Phil's fault. He didn't stop for the stop sign, pulls out in front of semi hits him. It's Phil's fault. Well, everybody's devastated because they all loved, Phil and Tyler. They were sweet people. Okay, and Ron lost it at the funeral, and everybody felt bad for him. Well, 2 months later, I'm still working out, still pulling myself around back allotments. A missionary shows up. He prays for me, gives me a stupid lecture, fight through the pain. What do you think I've been doing? I want you to rebuke the pain. Do you know that idiot even tried to get me to walk? I'm like, I can't. And I tried and I fell back in my pew. I said, my feet are still too numb. Well, you keep working on it. You'll beat this. I'm working for it. Left with my canes that night. Well, the next day I'm on the paper route and I'm rocking this big, huge allotment again with my canes. Nothing happened. Second day, nothing happened. Third day, nothing happened. Fourth day, where it goes into spontaneous remission once you get your muscles tight enough, it finally happened. I finally got well enough and strong enough that my muscles no longer spasmed. I still fell for 2 more months because the outside of my feet were still a little numb and I would lose balance. Did anything have to do with anything? We just went to the same church. I was already getting better, and then months later I got well. The minister and my husband was friends, and Katie had came back to church, and he knew the reputation of her sleeping with anything. Well, they came up with this scam of she was faking she was sick and faking she got well while they were grieving. The minister told him. He lies on everybody you don't like. They ran with it. Okay? And that Vega, 15 years later, went to, because they had my house bugged by the drug cartel, had me stopped. Before I called that agent back, went and cried crocodile tears to him. Didn't bother to pull my medical record. Didn't see that I had all those surgeries. Didn't see I was diagnosed with that. Didn't see where I swelled up. Everything quit working. Didn't talk to the doctor that gave me fentanyl patches and that I've been working with him for months. And like Altman Family Physicians, it was a medication error. That you always blame the steroids. But you were on so much medication, hard telling which one or the combination thereof made you swell up so bad and everything quit working. It's a good thing you got on high doses of pain medicine and got out moving. They told the cops that the first or second month. Okay? Strange lied on everybody. Perfect example. Dave White. He was a weird, odd kid. And in the 1980s, one day we go in church and he said, Dave White's tried to kill himself. Everybody's like, he said he blasphemed God and he tried to commit suicide. His family no longer wants anything to do with his church. Nobody's to call him here to give him the respect to try to heal their family. Nobody's to ever call them, you hear me? Everybody come up for him, pray for him. So everybody's devastated and pray for him. 30 years later, we go down to our son John's church, and he said, up walks this man. He said, hi, I'm Dave White. It was like deer in a headlight. It's like, oh my God, you're okay. He's like, I went to Strange in 1980s, da, da, da. He said, I told him God laid it on my heart to switch churches. And I've been here ever since, and it was the best decision I ever made. The bastard lied from the pulpit. We left. Now I have cops all around me. We call it, my phone's tapped. We call John up. We tell him what happened. He said, well, that's really crappy if you said that. John and Dave's like, I prayed for him. I was in that service. He's like, that's horrible of him. He lied on anybody he didn't like. Now, do I think it's funny that the Vegas, where I had nothing to do with their father-in-law running a stop sign, right? I was at home, my whole family was, right? They had nothing to do with me having endometriosis or the kidney stones and having all those surgeries, right? They had nothing to do with me going up to Cleveland Clinic and getting the wrong medication and swelling up and almost dying, right? And they had nothing to do with me doing my own physical therapy at my own pace and pulling myself around for 9 months before it went into remission. 2 months later, after their kid got killed. Right? And everybody already watched me shrink and deflate like a balloon. Now, do you think it's funny that he used his family's tragedy on a lie he knew that minister made up? Huh? To help his church get away with murder. The guy I had dinner with, he's like, he needs an electric chair for this. Yeah. Because of him, people have died. And been taken into human trafficking. They hired the drug traders that were human trafficking people out of this area to harm me. And those people dared the FBI to fix this. Now they're toasting they got away with it. Do I